to try to prop things up. That didn't work. Now you'll get that money back in this deal.
Well, we will get the money back, but I actually think it did work. I think it was extremely helpful in creating a path to what's ultimately happened. But as you said from the outset, the situation has now calmed down, and that's really what our clients wanted, and what I think all of the U.S. economy needed was to put this thing behind us.
What do you make of this deal with JP Morgan and the FDIC? Who got a good deal? JPM, the government?
Look, I think at the end of the day, I think all participants in the U.S. banking system got a good deal, because putting this chapter behind us and making sure that we can look forward and make sure that we're all focused on helping grow the U.S. economy and deal with some of the other issues that exist around the world, I think that's really the key thing. And we were
for information purposes.
And as America's oldest bank,
they are at the Milliken
global capital markets with all of our significant platforms. It was important to us to play that role. We felt a responsibility to the system to originally participate with the 10 other banks in making that deposit.
Is the president and CEO of Bank of New York Mellon.
Do you see or expect more bank failures in this country?
So I think this chapter is really
Full
behind us. It's a very, very different
I do not
situation, as many
work in
commentators point
finance.
out, compared to 2008. And so, we'll
I
have to see
am
what
an
happens in terms
investor,
of the path of rates.
but
We've
not
been focused
in
with our
Bank of New York
clients
Mellon
on
or
helping them
JP
to
Morgan.
navigate the situation. But I think one of the lessons that we've all learned from what's happened over the course of the past couple of months is that resilience is a commercial asset. And so focusing on resilience, whether for us, it's the resilience of our platforms. We provide critical services to the US Treasury market. We provide payment services around the world. Those things are critical, but so is having a resilient balance sheet. And you don't get to be 239 years old unless you've actually focused on that.
So you touch 20% of investable assets around the world, which I mentioned is huge. What are you seeing right now in the wake of some of these bank failures and the stress in the system?
Well, look, our clients are telling us that they're seeing a little bit of a slowdown in a variety of different aspects of the U.S. economy. But when I speak to clients from outside of the U.S., it's very interesting how important the U.S. Markets are to them, whether it's to be able to raise capital, whether it's to be able to put capital to work. There's a real sense of the medium long-term vibrancy of the US as a result of energy independence, as a result of the innovation that we have here in the US. And it's interesting how around the world that message really has carried out.
Really, it's interesting considering we've seen outperformance in places like Europe this year, because the part of the problem on the banks was in the United States. There's a lot of noise when it comes to the rate rises and what's happening with the economy.
Well, look, I think if you step back from the U.S. banking system in the U.S., you see an incredibly strong system here. You see all of the capital that's been added to the system, the liquidity that's been added to the system. We're one of the 8 GSIB banks in the United States. I think we've seen the benefit of having very, very strong, big banks in the United States.
Should the Fed still be raising rates in this environment where we just had second biggest bank failure in the country?
Look, Chair Powell's been quite clear about this in the past. My word's not his, but they can walk and chew gum at the same time. At the end of the day, they've had to deal with some of the stresses in the system, but they also have job number one, which is to make sure that they're focused on inflation. And that's what he said that they're going to do, and that's what they've been doing.
So you don't worry about the fallout from the banking industry if they keep going?
Look, I think you always have to pay attention to being resilient when you have such an unprecedented, well, at least for the past 40 years, rise in rates. 475 basis points over the course of a year is a lot. But at the same time, for firms that have invested in their asset liability management, for firms like us that have sort of really proven their resilience, I think that's what the regulators and the Fed expect, is that you've done the homework. We don't pin our hopes on a particular outcome in rates. Our clients expect us to prepare our platforms to be ready for them, come what may, whether rates are low, whether rates are high, and that's what we've been doing.
Robin Vince, well, I guess good to hear you chiming in here that this chapter is over, echoing what Jamie Dimon said. Appreciate the time this morning at Milken.
Good to be with you, Sarah. Thank you.